Yeah, I don't know about the other video.
Don't know either.
No.
Yes, that segues into terminology.
Oh boy.
Terminology.
Terminology.
And it's mattering.
And it mattering. To be honest, this is video is largely off the cuff. I guess we haven't really scripted anything, but it has come up in conversation a few times that the terminology kind of really matters when it comes to the EU, and I don't see a lot of people necessarily bringing it up or even caring. So I don't know. I guess we care enough to bring it up. Here we are.
This idea for the video, actually talking about it, sort of came from when I was on Twitter and just asking someone when they say, oh, save the expanded universe or save something else, and what they actually mean by save.
Yep.
And going, well, what I would mean by save is different to what you would mean by save. And I don't think it necessarily the expanded universe at the moment needs saving as such, because it's fine as it is.
And then
you
there's
wouldn't
also
want to mess with it.
And then there's also save the expanded universe as opposed to save legends, which the difference is miles apart. So, and once again, when you don't have any, I guess, extra criteria with that, it becomes a bit of a mess. So yeah, I guess we're just tackling terminology and what it is that people really want and ask for, because I guess one of my best analogies is it's no good just saying I want food. You know, like if I'm hungry, I'm starving, and I'm just like hashtag give me food. I want food. Continue the food, and then someone sends me a tin of dog food, and then I'm like, well, it's not. It's food. It's not what I had in mind. And then they're like, well, how ungrateful are you? You know, how dare you not accept the food that you've been asking for 6 years? So, yeah, terms kind of important.
Yeah.
Criteria important.
It's like, especially in the context we're talking about is in continued expanded universe or continued legends, obviously.
Yeah, what a term.
Yeah.
What a term.
Well, do we want to go the difference between expanded universe and legends?
Well, I'm definitely going to bring it up. Oh, I might as well go that first, I guess, because that's the one where it is absolutely miles long. And again, it's this term that's become a catch-all term, because as far as the franchise, or rather, I should say Disney, Lucasfilm, whoever you want to fling muck at, whoever, as far as they're concerned, you've got canon. Bring my hand in the screen, and you got the EU, or Legends they call it now. So you got canon and Legends. That's the only things that they have. And so the tiers of the EU are gone. What's canon to the EU are gone. The structure is gone. It's just everything's labeled Legend. So whether it's Skippy the Jedi Droid or Heir to the Empire, it's now all on the same level. Legends in the Legends bin and done. Where I see the problem,
thinking of that. I haven't noticed if they have the Infinity's logo as well as the Legends logo.
it's just if it's not canon, it's Legends. So whether
I
it's
was thinking
Infinities
of
or
Skippy
not.
the Jedi Droid. It was like the Infinity's logo was inside the Dark Horse comics and stuff.
Yeah, and,
To go, that was Infinity's. So
and now, Infinities isn't even a concept. It's just everything's Legends, and I guess we've seen that when things are now labelled Legends, like 108, which was, it had some mild issues that I think we've both brought up at separate times, but it was still largely, I guess, a continuation of the EU, or at least it certainly attempted to be a continuation of the EU, so that was good. But then we've got these other books that have come out now, and I forget the name of them, but you just did a video about them.
Star Wars Insider Fiction Collections.
Yeah, which are still branded Legends, and so anyone who's been like, give us Legends all this time, will now have Legends, which is filled with canon?
Yeah, it's sort of a mix of, I don't know how many exactly stories are in of each, but they're going, you could have your EU stories, but then here's new canon stories to try and get you into it.
Yeah, it's like, no thank you, I will stick with my magazine collection. I'm done.
Especially with the Legends label over the top of it. People not looking into it, people that just are a bit more casual, I'll say, enjoying the thing of continue Legends, and that would go, it says Legends on it, there must be an EU book. Yeah. Let's buy it. And then it has all this other stuff in it, and it's like,
What's happening here? Yeah, they're right. The EU was a mess. What is all this?
Yeah.
And of course, for me as well, the same thing happens that if they were ever to create, I don't know, a comic, a book, you name it, and the story centers on, and I don't even want to really deal with these characters or mention these characters' names, but I guess for the purposes of the video, here we are. If they were to make a comic where Rey is a Sith Lord and Kylo is a good Jedi trying to turn her, and then she dies and he carries on, or whatever the case may be, if they create a comic that doesn't fit their canon continuity, it only has one other place to go, which is Legends. So if you're asking for more Legends, a Rey and Kylo comic that doesn't fit continuity would be Legends, and that's kind of not what we would want at all when we're using those kind of terms. So it leaves itself open to an awful lot of abuse or misuse of terminology, which it's not great.
Because Lucasfilm themselves haven't really clarified exactly what they mean by Legends, and that's where
they've just said everything's not canon.
Because they have some Lego TV show or whatever was going on that doesn't have the Legends label on it, but it must be canon to their continuity.
That's all we can assume. Yeah. The Lego TV series is canon. You've heard it here first.
But obviously, when you think of it logically, it can't be. So where does it fit in this whole thing of like, well, you have the Legends, as they would call it, for continuity, but then you're also gonna maybe label things that people would assume are Legends in the fiction collections or other things.
Yeah, that's the way it seems to be crumbling. It's it's really unfortunate, I guess, that everything got sort of changed like that, because we had structure, we had continuity and bands and where things fitted and how things worked. And that was largely tossed out in 2014 in lieu of this catch-all term. And I guess the other problem there as well, which I just thought of and I've just forgotten, so that was good. The thought just fell straight out of the bottom of my head. So I'm gone. I'm absolutely gone. No.
Yes, sir.
I got my brain back. I want to put it in. My brain's back, sir.
It was it your brain or was some Abby normal? Was it?
Oh, no. Oh, no, my brain is still on the floor. Brain. I don't got brain.
The catch-all term of Legends. And stuff. It's a thing that they should have really. I mean, it's for the lack of transition that's caused a lot of the problem with us understanding what they mean by Legends.
Yep.
And some people have attempted to really explain Legends a bit more, but they're always fans. And I don't tend to go, well, maybe your interpretation's right, maybe it's wrong. I see it differently, but we don't have a whole official Lucasfilm explanation of going.
Well, I think unfortunately we've got as much explanation as we're going to get.
Yeah.
Legends is the bin. You've got canon, which is everything that they care about and everything that they're trying to cultivate now, and then everything else is over here in Legend. Everything else. It's just everything's in this one bucket called Legends, and that's kind of where it sits. Which, again, as I said, if
that's what it feels like. Anyway,
it really does, yeah. And nothing's got that structure anymore. And there's also not the same, I guess, adherence to quality anymore, which is going to be a massive problem if they do try to continue the EU. And by continue the EU, I mean actually continue the canonicity of the EU and not just throw more things into the bin. If they try and do that, you're now stuck with the fact that there is no more continuity editors. You know, there is no Cyril Stoney or later on Leland Chee and etc. and so on. These people who are taking care of continuity. So if a new comic is written to be in line with the EU, or if a new novel is written and so on and so forth, who's looking after the continuity there? Who is actually editing this to make sure that it all fits, that there's nothing wonky, like 108. Who is it now who's actually in control? Because one of the biggest things, I mean, the EU had such an absolute smorgasbord of different authors. You know, there's so many different authors from so many different walks of life, from so many different even genres, came together to make the EU, which would usually be an absolute mess. But the fact that we had continuity, overarching ideas, things had to mix back and forth, it became incredible continuity, if I may say so.
And even though they were learning as they went, it ended up the best it could be.
Yeah. And so with all that in mind, that quality's not there now. So if they said, oh, okay, we're going to write, because there's nothing written apparently, we're going to write sort of the Jedi trilogy just to keep the EU fans happy. Well, who's controlling the storylines there? Who is yaying or naying? Because we don't have that hierarchy at Lucasfilm anymore, that chain where information goes up and down and stories are shared. So
because their current story group would only be thinking about their new canon timeline.
Yeah, and so you'd probably have to hire somebody else who's not as talented as the current story group to run the EU story group. And if you see how the current canon is going, the fact that you're going to get the B team to that lot, it doesn't bode well.
It could be better.
It could be better. I mean, if the B team is full of just old school fans that really want to see things continued properly, it could be better. So, but yeah, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be anyone who actually cares enough to maintain continuity where things to go forward. So, once again, we got lucky with 108 in a way, even though it had some enormous problems. It overall was a story that still, I think, captured the right feel of both the original Marvel run and what Dark Horse did. It certainly brought back some fun characters and it was a great little romp. We got kind of lucky there.
At the same time, it was also a poster going, oh, Valence is here, but we're also having a new canon comic with the same character, so go into that.
Yeah, so it's like a little tie-in for everybody.
Which also leads into those fiction collections going, oh, look, here's some EU stories. Oh, here's new canon stories.
That is very true. So, I mean, that's, what's happening here?
So if the idea is to label things legends that are just supposed to lead people into new canon that were EU fans, then that's not something that I would want either.
No, definitely not. So the terms EU and the term legends are not synonyms. Yeah. They're not the same at all.
That's why I tend to use expanded universe still, is when I say expanded universe, I know that I'm referring to here's how the canon tier system worked internally, and here's how things are going a bit with.
And here's how quality was maintained, which again was one of the largest things. Because if I want to find a science fiction franchise to follow, and we've had issues with Firefly recently, which is a totally different video, but if you're trying to find a sci-fi franchise that's completely cohesive and they've put all this effort into it, there's a lot out there, but not a lot seem to be as large, expansive, and yet still somehow quality of the EU. Yeah. There was definitely a quality attached to that concept, to that idea. So, I see them as very different. I don't use the term legends at all, apart from the purposes of these videos. Yeah. That's where I'll start bringing the term out. But if anyone ever asks me at the normal time, it's expanded universe. It's EU. Yeah. That's what it is.
And there are some that would interpret expanded universe to just mean C and S canon. But that's exactly what I mean when I say continue the EU as well, is I want more of the actual continuity canon type expanded universe and follow that story, I would say.
And they're probably a small minority of fans, but I still find it weird, the people who remove the movies from the EU. I've had that before, where we might be in an EU forum or an EU group or on an EU page, and you post something from Return of the Jedi or Attack of the Clones or whatever. People are like, I thought this was an EU page, what's this doing here? It's like, well, it's all part of it. That's it.
But you can't really
you can't remove it.
You can't really remove G canon because all of the adaptations of the movies and everything are in the EU.
So
as books.
It's part of it. What? And, I mean, that's a whole different video. But I guess growing up for me, it was all Star Wars. I didn't have canon tiers for most of my childhood. That was something that came along a lot later. I never
paid attention to canon tiers until after it was decanonized.
Yeah, and then I never had them for most of my childhood because I started reading the EU when I was extraordinarily little, and canon tiers weren't going to come out into the public eye for another 15 years after that or so. So I never had it. It was all Star Wars. We had, when figures came out, the figure might say expanded universe across the top. But that was just to denote where it came from, much in the same way a figure might say Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back. It just denotes where you've seen that character. It doesn't necessarily mean this is Star Wars and then this over here is very different. It's like, no, it was all one.
A lot easier labeling than to say create separate labels for Shadows of the Empire and Out of the Empire and
you'd be there all of the others. And particularly if you bring out a figure like Mara Jade, and you're like, well, which book or novel or comic is she from? You're like, if it's Arika, it could be like,
Return of the Jedi.
And they're like, I didn't see her in the movie. So yeah, for me, it was all Star Wars for a very long time, and even when they did bring out the Infinities label, it was still very easy for me to read certain things, and you don't need the Infinities label. You can read something and go, okay, well, this particular comic has Ewoks running around with underpants on their head. This is clearly not part of continuity. This is clearly something different, you know. So, yeah, Legends and EU, very different
Apparently,
labels.
there is no underwear in space.
No, there is not. There is absolutely not. We've heard it from George Lucas directly.
So,
none.
On your shirt is not the underpants on their
No,
head.
there's no underpants there. Although they could probably, because they've got little ears on top of their heads, so if they took off their little hats, it would still look like a pair of underpants if you flipped it upside down, and they could pop their legs through the ear holes. Cool. So yeah, I guess we've flogged that horse to death, but EU and Legends are very different in terminology.
I would say that.
Yeah, but then I guess the second part of the video was, what are we asking for when we say give us anything? Whether it's EU or Legends. What are we asking when we say give us or save? Because, yeah, it's different for everyone.
Yeah, so save, I would go, it needs fixing. And it needs, like, people say save the Clone Wars as well.
But
and
it's
that sort of
fine.
thing, it was like, it was fine as a plot.
It's there. It's done.
It's not like, all of the copies of the Clone Wars are going to be destroyed and you have to go and rescue them.
Yeah. It's like someone saying, save my dog, and you look over and the dog's asleep on the pillow having a nice snooze. Like, it's fine. What are we saving it for?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
But also, along with that, when you say you want more a continuation of the expanded universe, as I'll say it, because we want that continuation is a word that also goes. There was a hashtag going around at one point called continuation, not integration, as well. We go, well, we actually want quality expanded universe and not the lower quality type story as 108 is in that odd spot of.
It is. Look, it's that caveat that we all need to attach to anything like that. It's not enough to use my dog food metaphor. It's not enough to simply ask for we want food. It's not enough to simply ask for we want more EU. The caveat has to be there that we want more EU, and that means that we want the same quality, that we want the same continuity, that we want everything to be on the same level as it was before, not just something that you've slapped together on a Friday afternoon and pushed out with a Legends label. That's not quite what we meant.
Or they go, here's this life thing. You asked for that. You can't complain now.
Which is the worst. That's the worst.
You have to ask earlier, because otherwise they'll get you and you go, well, actually, I can't complain.
Yeah, because if we've been whinging for 6 years, if the two of us and the rest of the EU fandom have been whinging for what is now 6 years, we're coming up to 7. I'm getting old. You know, if we've been whinging for that long that we want more EU, and then it comes out and it's not up to our standard, and then we just say, oh no, that's not what we wanted, then we look even worse than we ever could have before.
And they'll go, why do we even bother doing this at all?
They don't appreciate
and not do anything even more. Yeah.
They don't appreciate it. Away it goes. So yeah, there really has to be an awful lot of. I mean, the hashtag is nice and all, but I think somewhere, if you're going to put out because the hashtag needs to be simple.
Yeah.
You can't actually put out the hashtag, give us more expanded universe, we also want the same quality and adherence to continuity put through the like, you can't have that as a hashtag, but you do need to have the give us Legends or give us EU hashtag, and then somewhere state what you mean by that. Somewhere has to be a mission statement that we, the EU movement, as fractured as it might be,
it's not really a movement as it may be.
No,
it's just sort of
stagnant.
Whoever ended up saying we want to continue the EU.
Yeah, I don't even know who that was.
And there's no leaders or anything to say, oh, here's a clear goal and this is what we all agree on.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. But at least if we had a clear goal collectively, if we could come together and work out that what we actually want is whatever. I mean, you put your own there. What we want is underlined. What do you want?
Which is also going, well, definitely continue the EU. I think we all agree on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And who will be watching.
And then how we would continue it varies from fan to fan.
Yeah.
I have a different idea to Cal as to how we would continue it or what we would do. Very different, which could be a totally different video,
and
but yeah.
If it ends up being a sort of thing of going, okay, here's, if we do it as a fan continuation, because that is an option that someone's come up with, which I'm not very keen on. We go, some of the best ideas will come from us just talking to each other and saying which ideas would be best from both sides.
No, definitely. I mean, I think the problem there inherently, just to quickly go off on a little sidetrack with the fan continuation, is that we can't really agree on anything as a fandom. Absolutely nothing. Really. I mean, just come into an EU group for a while and hang around. We can't agree on anything. So to try and agree on where we're going to move forward would be a problem. So if we, as the fans, came together as a massive collective and we all said, okay, we're going to call this the Fan EU, which is a term that I just came up with. But we're going to call this the Fan EU and we're going to go in this direction.
An F-canon tier.
F-canon, yeah, okay. So that's where we'd go. And we would say, okay, we're going to go forward with F-canon. We're all going to write it. You would start writing it. And you would find that this fan over here doesn't agree with what you're writing, doesn't agree with the direction that the storyline is going or how a character... So they start to write their own. Their own version is every bit as valid as ours, as the Fan EU version. Their bit's just as valid because Lucasfilm is yang and naying none of this. And so they go off with a few of their friends and they start, and these guys don't agree with the direction, and we end up with the same fragmentation that we are sadly already seeing with the movement in terms of who's in what group and who's in what page, and it honestly gets very exhausting. But without any official backing from Lucasfilm to say, because Star Trek did that with New World something? I'd have to look that up. Star Trek did that kind of a thing though, where they had a competition where fans could write in their own stories and they were collated in these novels, but officially, like it was fan written, but it was officially collated.
It's like the West End Games stories.
Yeah.
Fans could submit their stories, and then if they liked them and they lined up properly, then they would go in.
Yeah, they went through the same continuity, yays and nays as everybody else, and then they got published. So if we could do it that way, whereas Lucasfilm is still the one actually yang and naying what's happening, that gives it some kind of an authenticity or legitimacy that we otherwise wouldn't get, and we just get more fracturing, which is basically what fan fiction is at the moment. Is an enormous fracturing where different people are doing different things, and I've seen some great stuff, and I've seen some wonky stuff, and so to try and collate that would be a nightmare. But at least if Lucasfilm was at the helm, some kind of an official body was at the helm, we could do it. But
yeah, because you never know how they would have continued the expanded universe if they did officially as well. If we're doing a fan one, and so if you have the go ahead from someone that is from Lucasfilm, then that is a clearer direction on what they were thinking of continuing on with. And
yeah.
Just, this would be cool to do, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, the EU was always a very fluid body of work, in that it could go anywhere and do
the shape
anything.
of the container that it's in. Yeah.
Ooh, it's like the Kool-Aid Man. Is he the container or is he the Kool-Aid? Yeah, you've
Why
got
not both. Yeah.
Ooh, ¿por qué no los dos? It's definitely one of those things where even though we had, Sword of the Jedi coming up, what happened within those 3 books and then what was going to happen afterwards wasn't necessarily set in stone. You see that a lot with people, even the original EU stuff. And by original I mean like the early 90s. Was where they'd say, we're going in this direction, and suddenly we changed to that direction, and we thought, hey, why not do this? And then we did that. And so it's not like any of this is historical. It was created largely on the fly. They were given the skeleton of what they could do, what they couldn't do. You're not allowed to kill Luke, for instance. These sort of things. So they're told what they couldn't do, what they could do, and then they framed a story around that. So even with that sort of framework, we would still need someone from Lucasfilm to collate everything and to put it together to lessen the fights.
And have a proper understanding of everything, going back to terminology.
Yep.
Because using the fresher and having the substitutes for the swear words in EU books and everything, if you don't have that sort of thing as well, it doesn't feel like expanding universe to me.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So you've got to have someone who's going to go through it with a keen eye and make sure they edit the bejesus out of it to make sure that it's all good. Which, I'm not sure that happened with some of the last releases.
Yeah. I mean, the last releases, bar SWTOR and 108 have just been reprints.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So there's no problem with those. Other than Marvel putting their logo on it and not giving any credit to Dark Horse anymore.
Yeah, rude.
But,
very rude. And also, apart from, as you said, the insider books which that's definitely a Legends release that is rife with problems, but, you know. Apart from that little hiccup.
But they're just reprinting some short stories that were in Insider.
Under the wrong label.
Technically, like they won't have continuity guffaws in the EU stories that are in that book. Because they're just reprinting the stories.
They're just collated incorrectly.
Other problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying that one. I'm just sticking with the original magazines.
I'm not buying that one. I'm going to just see if I can do a compendium of my own short stories.
Yep, cool. Yeah, ooh, very nice, very nice. Yeah, I mean, call me elitist, but if it's going to be expanded universe, I want it to be solely expanded universe. So
I'll be elitist if that's what it's called. I call myself. I just say it's EU purist.
Yeah,
because I want it to purely be expanded universe.
If you want the Disney canon, you can go over there and do it, and that's absolutely fine. But if you're releasing something that's expanded universe, I kind of want that to be expanded universe in its entirety. So, in terms of fun, what people want are fun. Hashtags are fun, but some form of clarity in terms of what we actually mean when we say these things would be good. Would be good.
Yeah, because I find a lot of people bandy terms around on the internet, and a lot of people probably don't realise how it's interpreted by others. Yeah. And so that would cause that misinterpretation of what do we actually want. And it's not like every time you say something you would have to link your description to what it is, but
that's it. It just needs some kind of clarity, really.
Clarity around it. Yeah. Because especially when it's officially like Twin Suns Foundation asking for continuation of Legends is very much an interesting thing as far as what we would get if that is successful now. Given that there is a mix of continuities inside of the fiction and collections and what 108 was trying to lead people into on that.
Yeah. And then once again too, if we're presented with something that's just way out of the mark, if we are presented with the hypothetical comic that I started with, where Rey is a Sith and Kylo is a Jedi, and then the wrong person dies. I don't even. Just one of them does die in that trilogy. Anyway, one of them dies. I don't care.
I don't remember now.
I don't care. One of them dies. Spoilers. But
someone dies. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Someone's got to go. If we're presented with that comic and they put a Legends label on the front, because once again, if it's not canon, it's Legends. They've got two definitions at Lucasfilm now. 1 and 2. That's it. 1 and 2. If it's not canon, it's Legends.
Unless they come up with some other funky name for something.
Oh, that wouldn't put it past me. And then there's also, I guess, if they reboot in another 15 years' time and then everything they're doing now gets lumped into Legends as well, and it's an absolute cesspit.
Well, it's like we got rid of LucasArts, and now we got to call it something else, like Lucasfilm Games.
Yeah, it's going to go back to what it was originally called and hope nobody notices. And I mean, that's another quick discussion, I guess, for another video, but that's also unusual for me that people are like, yay, LucasArts is back. It's like, well, if it's not the same directors and the same artists and if it's not the same crew,
still
then
outsourcing the crew to other companies.
Then it's back in name only, and the games that come out might be good, they might be great, but they also might be trash, because if it's just the name, then the quality of the outcome is going to be undecided.
Yeah, which is also something, I guess, with terminology is, when things are just a name, you shouldn't attach any preconceived notions to it.
Yeah. Like, if we really like the pizza shop down the road, and then that bloke gets up and leaves, and then someone else rocks up who's never made a pizza in their life, but it's like, oh, it's the same name. I love that pizza shop. I love that name. And you go in there and you're served a cardboard box with spaghetti in it. Like, I mean, it's the same name. But everything else is now completely changed, so the attachment of quality has gone, sadly. So yes.
I would guess that you hopefully get our point by now.
You'd hope so. I mean, we've certainly laboured it enough. And if nothing else, there is a visual image of Ewoks in their underpants to send you to sleep tonight, so you've got that. Also, I forget what issue it was, but there is a Tales comic that I actually pulled that imagery from. It's one of the earlier ones. It's probably around about issue 4 or 5, I think, but it has been a while. But, you know.
Yub, Commander.
Yeah, yub in your undies, Commander. In your edge grundies. I'll tell you what, this goop juice, I don't know what's in it, but it's good. Heels.
So,
Terms
yeah.
are important.
Yeah, terminology is important when you're asking for things and explaining things to people.
Language is important.
Communication. And we could go on about communication for ages, but yes, that sort of thing. Hopefully you have enough understanding as a human being
Everybody has already...
of miscommunications.
Everyone's already gone and watched something else. We've definitely laboured the point.
We've definitely miscommunicated.
Yeah, absolutely. if you're still here, let us know in the comments below. Just if you're still here. You don't have to say anything else. Just, guys, I was still there at the end. I know.
You survived.
You've gone through 2 guys just absolutely waffling on. So, well done.
Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Waffle, waffle. Bye.